Hi guys, it's Tara and welcome back to Crafting with Curly Cues. Today I have a fun card for you that I entered in the Lawnscaping challenge for the Calling All Critters challenge. So I stinking love to color critters, so I had to enter this challenge. So let's dive right in. I'm going to start with the Party Animals and Holiday Party Animals stamp sets. Would you believe I have never used these yet? So I totally wanted to bust them out because it was super appropriate for this card idea that I had. So I sped this video up quite a bit because it ended up, for some reason, just being super long. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I think that I just dilly-dally while I'm filming, and I don't know, I had like hours of footage. So anyway, it's sped up really fast. So hopefully I can talk fast enough to keep up with it. But I am going to start by doing some masking and some stamping with all of these critters and then all these really fun accessories that come with the critters to have all kinds of parties and stuff. So I started with the party hats, and then I stamped on some Inka Dinka Doo stamping mask paper, those little party hats, and then I'm just going to mask those off and then stamp these critters so that the party hats are chilling right on their heads there. So I'm going to end up using all 4 critters. There's 3 in the party animals stamp set and then 1 that comes in the coordinating stamp set, the holiday party animals, and I'm going to use all of them. There's just going to be a big old surprise party happening in this card. So kind of a fun card idea because it's not just right on the front, it's a surprise party. So you'll see later what I mean by that. So I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink to do all my stamping on some Neenah 110-pound Solar White cardstock. So I'm going to do some Copic coloring later. So now that I've got all of the hats masked off and the party hats on these animals, I am going to go ahead and mask off just the little animal's arms because, like I said, there's a bajillion little accessory pieces you can use with these animals, and I just wanted to make sure that it looked like they were holding them and that there weren't any funky lines kind of overlapping with the items that I wanted to put in their hands. So you can see I'm stamping just kind of the bottom half of those animals on my mask paper, and then I'm just going to cut out their little arms, and I'll show you the bear, and then I'll skip past the other ones because I do the same concept. But I cut out each little arm and then stick those masks right on top of those little arms so that I can stamp all those accentuating pieces on there. So that is how I went ahead and took care of that. So once I'm done, I'm going to pick up all those little masks, and you can see that their little hands are holding these little party extravaganza stuff. And then I'm going to use my Brother's Scan and Cut machine to cut all these out. So that is why I'm able to put all the accessories on them first and then cut them out, because I'm not using coordinating dies. I'm using my Brother's Scan and Cut, which will just scan in any image size. So that is why I was cool with doing it that way. If you had the coordinating dies, you could just die cut all these separately and then build the little accessories on them afterwards, which is also super cute. I just have moved away from the dies because I do have that machine now. So anywho, moving on to the coloring, I'm going to start with the little bear, and I'm just going to do him in different shades of brown. I am using about 3 shades per color family here on each animal, and then I've got my R22 for all their little cheeks because I want to make sure that I get some super cute little rosy cheeks. And then I did bring in a lighter brown to do his little snout and then kind of give him a light little belly. And then I'm going to go in and start coloring my fox. And I got to tell you guys, I was not sure what to do with this fox because I don't have lots of, like, I will tell you guys right now, I don't have tons of Copic markers. Like, my husband would probably tell you a different story. But the reality is, like, compared to a lot of card makers out there that do tons of Copic coloring, I don't have tons of them. You look at my little hex chart and it's kind of sad and lonely. So I was trying to figure out how to make this fox colors because I know there's some browns that are kind of a more reddish brown, but I don't have any of those. So I started with that R27, which is a pretty kind of bright red, and then I came in with that E37, which is probably the most reddish brown that I have in my collection, and then did some shadowing with that, and then I did some more shadowing with a dark red, and then the very deepest, darkest shadows I did with the darkest brown that I have, which is that E59, which is walnut. And then when I blended back out with all of those colors, I thought that the fox color ended up being like perfection, and I was really pretty proud of myself when I was done. It was one of those moments where it's like 11 o'clock at night and I've just colored the perfect fox, and I look around and it's like I really want a high five from someone to be like, yeah, you totally rocked that fox. And you know, hubby's in bed and I'm just like chilling alone in my craft room, so it was a little anticlimactic, but I was pretty stoked. So anyway, moving right along, I'm going to go to the raccoon now, and I had to actually Google cartoon raccoon because I could not remember for the life of me what part of the raccoon was supposed to be darker and what part was supposed to be lighter. Like, my instinct was to not color his eyes super dark because I wanted to see his eyes, but once I Googled it, I was like, well, that's actually the dark part, so I need to make sure that that is black. So I am using cool grays to color him in. And I'm just going to do the shadowing. All these animals are kind of exactly the same except for their little faces. So I did all the shadowing in kind of all the same colors for every single animal. And as you can see with the little presents and party hats and such, I am sticking with a blue and green theme. I'm going to use a piece of the Lawn Fawn Perfectly Plaid paper later that has blue and green in it. And so I was like, well, I'll kind of make this a little bit more of it could be a more masculine birthday card if you wanted to give it to someone who liked blues and greens. So I was sticking with those kind of color families, and it just kind of made it simpler rather than trying to pick I usually want to color like every single present a different color and make this whole like rainbow craziness, but I'm trying to like calm myself down a little bit more here. So instead I coordinated everything, and it was a little bit hard for me because it was hard to just reach for the same colors over and over. So I was like, oh my gosh, is this boring? Like, do you guys stress out about that when you're making a card? I'm like, well, what is the perception that people will have of what the choices I'm making? So anyway, I must have been really paranoid. Like, I didn't get my high five from the fox, and so that I was paranoid after that. So anyway, coloring my little deer, I'm using some more browns. And again, I don't have tons of Copic, so I kind of went a little bit lighter, but it's most of the same shades I used on the bear. I just wanted to make sure he didn't look exactly the same as the bear since they're both brown. So I did go just a little bit lighter and didn't bring in that super dark brown. And I think he turned out super cute. Then I'm going to go with the blue, and then I colored the little balloon in with some green. My blue totally bled outside that hat, but I will show you later that I'm going to fix that. So I colored the balloon. I left that white space there for some highlight, and you can see I'm going just a little bit behind it and then around the bottom. And then when I come back in and do my lightest shade, you get that really awesome highlight that makes that balloon look super round. So that's just a fun way to color in balloons. So then I stamped a couple of these little birds that come in the stamp set too to coordinate, and I am just going to use some yellows and color them in real quick and then give them the same blue and green party hats that everybody else has so they can party along with the rest of the animals. So there's that Perfectly Plaid paper pad, which is super hard for me to say, but I took that and then I went ahead and I used the smallest of these Stitch Cloud Borders dies from Lawn Fawn. And I cut, you can see the front flap of my A2 card base. So I cut it a little bit so that there's some of the back of the card showing. And then I took one of those papers that has the blues and the greens, and I used the same border die to just kind of cut above so that when I put it on the bottom, you'll see the pattern coming out, but when you open it, you'll see the same border as you can see on the front. So I am using a Mama Elephant pigment die, I believe this is the Rainwater Blue, to go ahead and do some ink blending on the front of this card. So I did pay attention. Someone asked me the last time I did this if because it's a pigment ink if I got any smearing, and I didn't notice. I even ran my finger over after I was done. I mean, it sat there for a couple seconds while I put away my ink and all that jazz, and it didn't come off on my finger. So far I'm having good luck with those not smearing, and they do blend pretty well. I was able to get it to blend out to white without too much of a problem. So you can see there I'm kind of rubbing over to see what it does. So now I'm going to go ahead and adhere this little strip into the inside of my card, and then when I get that on there, I'll just flip it over and trim it off so that it's nice and even with the back part. You can see those adorable little animals over there that I cut out with my brother's Scan and Cut. It's super fun to be able to do that, so it cuts out with the party hats and everything. I don't know if you guys can hear in the background. My pug is freaking out right now because my husband just pulled into the driveway and the pug knows he's out there and he's like wigging out. So anyway, if you can't hear that, he's wigging out, and if you can, then you know what I'm talking about. So I took this Happy Birthday to You border die from Lawn Fawn, and I originally tried to cut this out of some craft foam, and as much as I absolutely love cutting dies out of craft foam, this little tiny die was just way too detailed, and it just wasn't happening. So I ended up just cutting it out of some Nina, and then I put it on the front of the card over the part that's the most blue, so it really stands out and you can see it. And then on the inside of this card is where we're going to have our party here. So this is where the animals are going to be just partying it up, but then when you close it, you're going to see their little toes poking out. So this is the surprise party part that I was talking about. So from the front, it's just a nice, plain, clean and simple ink blended card. And then you see these little toes, and then you open it up, and it's like, bam, party waiting for you. So I just thought that was kind of fun. I don't know. I get these random ideas sometimes that I'm just, whatever. You just got to go with it. That's part of the creative process, right? So then these little birdies, I was kind of trying to find spots that with the little pattern cut off the front that you could see most of the bird from the front. Then I had one left over, and I was like, well, awesome. I'll just stick him on the front, and then that'll coordinate with the inside, which I thought was super fun. So I put that little birdie on there. And then I busted into another of my stamp sets. This is the Lawn Fawn on the Mend, and it's got a sentiment in it that says, from all of us. So I thought, because I had a whole bunch of critters in here, that it would be nice to stamp that from all of us on the inside. So it says, happy birthday to you from all of us. And that is what is waiting on the inside. I used that same rainwater ink to go ahead and stamp that, so it coordinated with the outside there. So then for finishing touches on this little card here, I'm going to go ahead and add some Pretty Pink Posh sequins. I'm going to use my micro glue dots to apply some sparkling clear sequins, and then I use my black Jelly Roll Glaze pen to go over their eyes and make those pop a little bit. And then I did use some Stardust Jelly Roll pens to go over some of the hats and presents to add some bling. So here's a close-up of the card, and then bam, surprise party in there. And you guys can totally see the lighting. I apologize. I forgot to film this part of like actually showing the finished card. And so I did it the next day, and the sun was out, and so it wasn't 11 o'clock at night anymore. So you definitely get different lighting. But anywho, here's a close-up of that fun surprise party peekaboo card with all those different animals in there with that fun Copic coloring. And then here is another close-up just of the Copic coloring and the way those little animals are hanging out having a surprise party on the inside. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is for the Lawnscaping challenge. This one has closed, but I will link to the Lawnscaping blog down below so you can catch the next challenge. All the supplies are listed below and over at my blog. If you like this video, please hit subscribe, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you guys. And there's more crafty inspiration down below, and as well as links to join me on social media, Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.